Hi, welcome back. Today I wanted to go over a quick code review of a website I made. And it's a simple website, one that just simply shows you the stock values, stock prices of stocks that you want to manually add in your wish list. So to go ahead and show this type of dashboard, we're going to go ahead and go into the Trisco dashboard as well. And I am running this as of now on a local host 3000 server. As you can see, we're using a little bit of Bootstrap here, and I want to go ahead and type in just a quick username and password to log in here. And this will always take a couple seconds to actually load the stock board. At least that's what I call it in my case. And as you can see here, we have each price of each stock that I willingly wanted in here. So you see we have the Apple stock price of $121.42 per share, Texas Instruments at 167, Disney at 188.9.99, and AMC at $8.05 per share. Now to go ahead and prove to you that this is an accurate count, we're going to go ahead and look up Apple stock. As you can see, it really is 121.42. We can go ahead and look at Disney stock as well. It really is at 89.99, which to say they have gone up a significant amount. When I am doing paper trading, I bought in at like 170. I think it was like 173, and they've been fluctuating for the past couple of days, but I mean, they've honestly have been going up. Yeah, they were at 190, and then they have gone down. Probably a sign that I should buy a little bit more. But anyways, not the point of this video. And then we're going to go at AMC stock as well, just to prove it is 805, and you get the point. So how did I exactly make this? Well, let's go over to the folder that I'm running this on. As you can see that we are using node.js, as you can just tell by the server and the node, as well as I am using NodeMon. You don't need to use NodeMon for this, of course. This is just make it when you're actually coding and testing and make it much easier to run off of a localhost server. So we're going to go ahead and stop this. And we're going to start with the HTML files. There is one feature that I did want to show this actually, and let me go ahead and bring the server back up. And it's simply just one of the fail-safes that, let's say you were to type in the thing wrong, and as I'm typing it wrong and on purpose, you get automatically, you're still going to get a second to load, but you're going to get sent to a redirection page, which is just simply called the fill page. And there's been an error logging in. Please try again to try the developer. Just press try again, and then you'll be brought back to the same page. And that's all I really wanted to show. All right. So first, let's start getting into the HTML files. So for the basic index.html, which is the front page that you see, what I'm basically doing is, you can see I made the author as well as the description of it and the usage. So this is all from Bootstrap, as we well know. It is the Bootstrap sign-in page, and I will link these all in the description below, of course, so you can have access to everything that I'm about to mention. This is just the Bootstrap sign-in page. Simply go there by going to Bootstrap's website, or you can just go to this exact link, which will be in the description. And of course, if you always just want to look at the code, which I did, you can go down to developer or view developer and view source if you're on Mac. And you simply just can get all this code and, of course, copy and paste it as you must, and change things around a bit, of course. So I'm not going to get into the CSS heavily of this. Basically, all you should know is that the CSS file, which I believe for this one's style.css. You see I do have two different CSS files, one for the index and as well as one for stock face. The failure uses this style as well, which we'll get onto in a second. This is just basic Bootstrap CSS with the specific CSS formats for the sign-in control, which you can easily find all of this by Googling the sign-in cover or sign-in style sheet. Alright, and to go ahead and continue into the index.html. We are using favicons for the photo that you saw, and we'll go back into it again. As well as you have icons that you can change all of these. And then you have your link to the style sheet. Everything is basically already done for you as long as you have your CSS sheet. And really all you have to do is just add a couple things here and there if you please. For example, I had to add the inputs, of course, to have the text of, or the type of text and password, username and password, and then the simple classes and the placeholders, as well as the footer of the copyright. And of course, the submit already comes with it. Going next into the failure, which is very simple. It's basically just a failure page that this one you don't even need a style sheet for. Really, it just has a failure. Our using really is just the simple failure, of course title, and all you need for this is the Bootstrap classes if you have the Bootstrap style sheet just linked already. And you can use, and all I used was Jumbotron, and the Jumbotron flood, the container, and the display and lead, as well as the buttons. But that's it. That's one's really simple. And then we have the EGS file, which is a file I will get into a little bit later, because it does have to do with NPM packages, of course. Just to gloss over real quick, because we'll go more in depth in here in a second. This is using a cover template, of course, and I actually had to look this, had to look up the style sheet for this one because I couldn't. It didn't use really the same things as for regular Bootstrap, but again, looking at the same way, you can go view, developer, and view source if you're on Mac. And you can copy and paste it, as well as find the certain style sheet. Actually, you can actually find the style sheet very easily here. I didn't know this at the time. I had to look up the style sheet, but if you just click on the style sheet, you can just copy and paste it. Very simple. Alright. And so the reason why I want to gloss over it is because it uses EGS, as you can see here. Very simple EGS, but as well as it is EJS, which we're going to get into all the NPM packages in a couple seconds. But we are using, we do have it in a form, and you'll see why we have it in a form later, for the, I guess, transfer pages. And we're going to go to what it's called alpha.js in my case. And the reason why this is initially called alpha is because I was planning on using Alpha Vantage for the API. For the package with the key. We didn't. This Alpha Vantage is an API. I decided not to use it, and I decided to use Yahoo stock prices instead. So everything that you see that is grayed out like this, except EGS, you can go ahead and just get rid of it. You don't need HTTPS package unless you are planning to upload this on sites like Heroku or any other party site that will host your website. And to fair warn that you should know this essentially, but you can't use a thing like this on GitHub pages, or at least I don't think so, because the amount of EGS in the call from it, or sorry, not EGS, JavaScript from it, and I don't think packages and APIs go very well. But I don't know. I haven't tried to upload it on there. I just don't think it'll work, but I could be wrong. And as always, I like to make my port a constant, just to make life easier instead of typing 3000 every time. Now, this is a messy version of it, but it does work. And it will eventually be cleaned up soon. As you see, we have bad naming, but it essentially does work. Alright, so we have the package. One of the most important packages is we have the Express package, and the way that you go ahead and find the Express package for the framework is you can go to npm.js.com, and you can simply just type in Express if you don't have it already memorized how to get it. And all you have to do is just npm express in your terminal. Make sure that you are your file, and simply just do this. Sorry. And hit run, and that'll be it. I already have it installed, so there's no reason for me to run it. Next, we are going to use body parser to access things from each page. So obviously, you know this same gist of body parser. There you go. And then again, another middleware for Node.js, NPI body and parser. Now, be careful. I do get asked this a lot. Is when you are installing body parser, make sure you do add the the dash when you are installing it, but when you are requiring it in the file itself, you name it like this, body parser. And when just for camel casing, of course, I don't think you have to name it like that, but it is more proper, and it is more commonly seen throughout coding communities when you're using body parser. And lastly, for the stock itself, you're going to use Yahoo stock prices, which the easiest way to find it is just going to npm and looking up stocks. And you see you have stocks, Alpha Advantage, but use Yahoo stock prices. The reason why I'm using Yahoo stock prices is that it's not one of the most complicated out there, but it can be very confusing to use. So you can go ahead and just copy this and just paste it into your terminal, as always. Alright, and of course, we have a port, so that goes down the line, and and obviously, you make your app equal express, the function, and then you're going to use app.use body parser so it can have access for the middleware, and can have access to each page that you give it to. And the reason why I have this static public is just because it is more proper use to use. Again, you don't have to have this certain line right here. Alright, so to get next in, we're going to get to app.get as well to the root function, or into the root, and use the function, anonymous function, and have res pass through, and we are setting the file index.html. If you don't know what dir name is, basically all it is just it gives you access to the very root. So all it is just it gives you, my file is called stock alpha. All it is, it gives you access to stock alpha. From there, you can access any file in here, as long as you have the correct notation for it. So we're going to go stock alpha dash index.html, and this will work for any place that it's in, so it doesn't again have to be in stock alpha. It can be whatever it wants. And so simply all this is just pulling up the HTML page, and for here we can go ahead and start running the thing again, just so we can go step by step. So when you first go to the website, the first thing you're going to see is This is the index.html page, also as the root page. Next, we're going to get into the post, which is the bigger of the chunk. We're not going to get to post here. We're going to go into the stock board. And so we're going to get into the dash stock board, which, if you don't remember, it's in the stock face. And that's why we have the form, as well as for the action of dash stock board. And we're going to have this as the post method, and this is where we have our EGS code in. Alright, and basically all it is just whenever we redirect something, so when we press the refresh page or we press a button, if we had one, it would always just redirect to the index.html page, unless said otherwise. Then we have our post of a failure page, which will just redirect there, and you'll soon see how we get to the failure page. And then we have the listen, so for when we run it, it tells us that we are running on the port given, which is port 3000. Alright, now into the big boy. So now we have the app.post of the root using the anonymous function rec and res, and you see we use both rec and res. Excuse me. So first we're going to use the rec. We're going to pass that in, and we are going to get the username from the rec.body username into here. So we're getting this name right here as well as the password. And the reason we're getting this is you'll see when we get down here, we have an if statement. And basically on this if statement is saying that if the username equals the password or equals Trisco, and if the password equals Alpine. If you don't get the joke behind Alpine, basically is when you whenever you crack into a phone using a SSH crack or any other type of port crack, the admin password for any for at least most phones nowadays, even iPhones, the admin password to it is Alpine. Just a simple cyber security joke, really. So next we're getting into the actual stock itself. We'll get more into this right here, the render. But to get this working, it was very tricky because the module itself that we installed was very uninformative. It showed you how to do the basic, but it didn't get you where you wanted to, really. As you see when we saw it, we can pull up the actual way that it gets all of its information, and as well as the README file. And of course, this is the information file. And again, the README file wasn't very informative because this is all it gave you. It gave you this function. It gives you this constant of the data, and then you have to await the Yahoo stock prices to get current data. Well, unbeknownst to me, using the await term did not work at all. Even though it would seem to work, for some reason it wouldn't work, even though this is technically a async function. For some reason the await keyword didn't even work. Now, you're saying, okay, we'll take away the await keyword. The problem with taking the await keyword from it is that this is a unfulfilled promise statement. And whenever you run it, it would always just come back as an error. Or one of the worst things is that whenever you would log in, so let's go ahead and log in real quick. And of course give it a second. But whenever it would log in, everything would pop up with the array brackets and just say object, which is clearly what we not want. We wanted the prices, but it's not what we got. So after long working around it, I finally came up with this disaster of a weigh with just under, probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so under 10 lines of code. Not much, but I mean, it works. And it will need some name changing, of course. We can't have prices with 3 S's, it gets really confusing then. But basically what we're doing is we're using the stocks keyword, which you remember up here is the Yahoo stock prices package. So we're saying stocks dot get current price, which here, as you can see, get current price is an async function, which it requires a ticker and a callback. And we're getting the data, except when we're using that, we're just getting the price itself. So after we get this price, we are putting that price into the constant Apple, because this is Apple's price, of course, and then we're doing the same thing for Texas Instruments, except of we're going to have 2 different names. We're going to have prices for this one, and then for Disney we have prices, and then for AMC we have prices. And then we have our if statement, and inside of our if statement we have the res.render, which of course we went over what dir name is. Render basically is we're just rendering that page if the requirements meet, and we're rendering the stock face, which is the EGS file down here, and this is where EGS comes in to play. So we have stock1 : Apple, and all this is saying is that here where we have the AGS file, all we're saying is where Apple stock price is at, or it says Apple stock price is at, that we have $, which is not needed, but I mean it is needed if you want to put a sentence, but we're gonna have our $, and then we're gonna have AGS I guess key terms, which represents everything in here is not a HTML word. It is part of JavaScript, and you can actually write JavaScript in HTML file using EGS, but all we wanted was a keyword in there, which is stock1, and then we have stock2, stock3, stock4, and easily if you wanted to make a new stock, all you have to do is just copy this line over and then go into your JavaScript file, and then instead of stock4 we'll go down here, comma, and then write stock5 and then whatever stock we wanted. Alright, so all this is saying here is that stock1 is equal to Apple, stock2 is equal to Texas Instruments, stock3 is equal to Disney, and then stock4 is equal to AMC. And if the username and passwords do not match, if neither of them match, that's why we have an and system, or and symbol. This is because both of these requirements have to be met in order to get into the website. If one matches but the other doesn't, it will not allow. And if we want an or statement, of course, that's what that looks like, but we don't want that. And if all those fail, we're just going to send them over to the failure.html page. Now, simply, if we wanted to, I say simply, but if we really wanted to, if we didn't want to have a wish list and we wanted to have a search engine, for example, or not a search engine, but a search for certain stock prices, all we have to do is we wouldn't have to even use all these. We would just have to use one, and then instead of typing Apple, we would type in, let's say, in our EGS file, we had a submit button, and we got a name, we had a search button, and we had a name. Inside that, we would pull it, so we would do a const stock name, and it would equal rec.body, because we're using our body parser, and then the name of it, which would be we'll just call it stock name or stock name. And then all we would do is we would just replace this, for example, with stock name, and since it's already a string, we don't have to worry about it. And it would pull up the price of the stock name, and then here we'll just equal stock. And then when we render the page, it would just equal stock, and that's it. Not very hard, and not very complicated at all. But yeah, that was just a quick rundown of our stocks, or of my wishlist stock page. This was just a quick little project I wanted to run through, and it was fun, really problem solving. I tried to use like at least help as possible. The only help I really needed was looking up some stuff on Stack Overflow. It was the difference between this send file and the render for this one. For some reason, this would not send the file, so I had to render it. I'm not really sure why. Maybe I did something wrong, but yeah. And if you have any tweaks of these, please put down in the description below. I'll gladly take any criticism you have. Again, I know the code is messy, and I know if I really wanted to, I could upload this onto Heroku, which you'll probably see later. And if I do, it will always be in the description. But I'm not going to do it anytime soon, because I still want to redo this web page. I want to make it a little bit more prettier. But as of now, this is all I really want to do with it. And of course, I will need a new port for that. I think Heroku runs off of, I don't know, it's a weird port number, but that's really it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any better ways to do this, or if you have any suggestions for anything I should make, leave them down in the comments below, and I will be happy to try and make them. If you have any fun packages to check out, tell me what NPM packages I should check out and I should test out and see if they are worth it or not. I know there are a lot of good ones out there that really go hidden, but if you made one yourself, or if you made a website you want me to check out, you can send me a link to the code and I will review it if you want. But this one is my own personal code. Thank you guys for coming out and watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Good. Bye, everybody.